I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet, maneuver in silence to let them talk.
What's up, my friends? Welcome back to another episode of Dr. Yawgmoth's Clinic. If you watch the intro to this video, you know what we're playing against. I do not know at this moment in time, but I am going to find out momentarily. Currently, the list we are running, if you've watched the last couple of leagues, or last couple of videos that we've posted, we switched the list up a little bit. 4 Thoughtseize on the sideboard, moved a Grist from the sideboard to the main deck, 2 Boseiju in the main deck, which has been the case, and then we cut an Eldritch Evolution. Currently in this league, we've played against a lot of Lurrus decks, and it looks like we are playing against another one. I think almost every match has been a Lurrus deck, just about. And consequently, we are 4-0 right now, so we're playing for a 5-0 this match. So let's see. Our hand is pretty strong. I think we're going to keep this. We are on the draw against XL Bonk. Let's see what XL Bonk has to say for us. Move Lurrus up here. All right, so Lurrus Urza Saga. Thinking Hammertime right off the bat. Let's see if that's true. Springleaf Drum lines up with Hammertime. Seems to be a popular deck. Ornithopter. Alright, so Nosegard is a turn 1, which is good for us. They have the ability to cast a Paladin turn 2, so we need to keep that on our radar. I think Horticalling was a decent draw. We have a turn 3 Yawgmoth with this hand. We'll see if that is good enough or not. Time will tell. So, and we've had 2 other videos where we've played against this deck. Obviously, it's probably the most popular deck in the format. I wish I got paired against some other decks so I could show you how to navigate those matchups a little bit more so. But unfortunately, we just keep getting paired against the same deck over and over again. But, you know, you do what you can. So I think here we're going to Wall of Roots, and then I think that's all we're doing here. Nothing more to do. Likely going to be fetching Dryad Arbor EOT to give us access to an extra creatures for our Yawgmoth. So it looks like their game plan right now is just make a bunch of tokens with their Saga, which I don't know that will pan out unless they have a Pithing Needle in their deck. So we'll see. If they're a Maniac and running a main deck Pithing Needle, we are in trouble, but I'm hoping that is not the case. Otherwise, I think we should be able to deal with this board state. It might take us a turn or 2, but I think we should be able to get there. And unless they drew a land, they're not going to be able to activate. I guess they could get another Springleaf Drum. Okay. So unless they have a land, which they did draw a land. Can they equip right now? No, it's 2 to equip. Alright, so they're playing a white splash. Second Springleaf Drum. Okay. So we'll take a hit for 7 here. Probably going to wind up chump blocking next turn. We're going to get our Dryad Arbor. All right, we're a little flooded on Yawgmoths here. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's Yawg. We did not cast a land this turn. So I am going to start it's -1 on the Mem Knight. We'll start there. Did I play land? Oh, I played a land. I played the Herborg. Oops. Alright, well that's fine. Yeah, so we're going to be chump blocking this turn. And then from there, likely Court of Calling for a wolf. And hoping that gives us enough to get the kill next turn. So they might even have the ability to... Alright, so they're tapping their creatures. So this is interesting. Unless they drew another land, they're not going to be able to equip their Shadow Spear, which is really good for us. We'll see. And like I've mentioned in past videos too, I think this matchup gets a lot better post board. Just we bring in our 5-card artifact package, which is 2 Crime Punishment, 2 Force of Vigor, 1 Outland Liberator. Alright, so they did draw us their 2nd land in a row, so they'll be able to equip the Shadow Spear, which is really good for them. So I think we might be chump blocking with the Wall of Roots here. I think, actually, I think we're blocking with the Wall of Roots and the Dryad Arbor, unfortunately, which is really going to tax our mana, but I think we need to. Kind of in the hole here a little bit. Alright, Yawgmoth. Alright, so we are at 11 life. There's quite a bit of damage on the stack. So 11 down to 10, draw a card, down to 9, draw a card down to 8. Then we'll take 5 down to 3. I think we're going that route. See how this pans out. Okay, so we're taking 5. Those were not very good draws, unfortunately. Don't know that we necessarily have an out from here. Oh, that might be an out. That's great. That is great. All right. I feel like we might have to lose our Yawgmoth though, given the way this is situated, which isn't great. All right, we'll see what happens here. They have 2 cards in hand. I feel like they have a Paladin in hand. It's just a premonition, but I feel like that's what's going on. We'll see. I think that's 4 straight lands they've drawn. Alright, this is Stoneforge. That's fine. I mean, they don't have... It doesn't seem that they have Paladin. It doesn't seem that they have Sigarda's Aid. So, not too concerned. Lion Sash. Which they can activate once as it stands, which is fine. Okay, so we are going to block here, here, like that. No. We need to fetch first, just in case we draw our basic forest off the Yawgmoth. We need to make sure that that does not happen. Down to 2. Get rid of that guy. I know they can activate it, but kind of priced into doing it this way. I don't think we can win from this point, but we're gonna try our darndest. We are going to do our best. Alright, so those are revealed cards. Of note, Beseju costs 1 less to activate because of Yawgmoth being in play. So that is relevant. We are at a lowly 1 life. Handful of Yawgmoths. I don't know what we can draw at this point that can save us, but we're at least gonna see what the top of our deck has for us. Another Eldritch Evolution. Alright. Alright, yeah, we're dead. Super dead. Alright, so we're down a game in our 5-0 match. Being on the play is very relevant. Having our sideboard cards also very relevant. So we'll see how this pans out from here. Let's look at our sideboard guide, see what we're cutting. Sideboard guide is linked in the description below. We also have a new version, which you may or may not be familiar with. That is 1 page front and back that you can put into your deck box if you're going to a tournament. So take advantage of that. Cutting 2 walls, 1 Geist, 1 Endurance, 1 Cord. All right. Got our artifact package, we're feeling good. Hopefully we can win the next 2, take home this 5-0, and be victorious. I think I've won my last half a dozen matches against Hammertime, so I'm kind of due for a loss at this point, but keeping my fingers crossed. Let's get there. It's interesting though, each of the times I've played against Hammertime, it's been a different iteration of the deck. I know blue lists are splashing for that new card Reality Chip, which seems powerful. Similar to that 4-drop artifact that gets played in Legacy a lot in mono brown decks. Mystic something or another. Once again, my memory with regards to card names, not great these days. You know the cards that are in my deck, everything else I can describe, but actually telling you the name, probably not happening. Which could be problematic playing a card like Necromentia. Possibly. So, I think as long as you can describe it to a judge, they'll give you the name of it, and hopefully your opponent is cordial and will just say, oh, this is the card you meant. But I guess sometimes competitive atmosphere, competitive attitude, that might not happen. Alright, so our opponent took his time sideboarding. We won the die roll. Well, we're on the play. So we will go first. We're looking to have a hand with a quick Yawgmoth or one of our sideboard cards in it that functions in some way. So that's what we're shooting for here. I wonder if our opponent is double queuing because they're taking a little bit of time here. Okay, so we have access to a sideboard card through Court of Calling and Evolution. We also have the Seiju and a turn 2 Grist. So in spite of the fact we don't immediately have one of our sideboard cards, I think I'm going to play this hand. I think it's strong enough that we can go with it. Hoping I top deck another land here. So I don't have to play out the Beseiju as a land. So we will see. Unfortunately, I think we're searching for an Overgrown Tomb on turn 1. You know, life total is very relevant in this matchup, but I don't think we have the luxury, given the way our hand lines up, to not do that. They kept a 7-card hand, which is a little bit scary. Tomb, shock, bird, go. And for some reason our bird dies here. We're in big trouble. I don't anticipate that happening, but I guess it's a possibility. Okay, so Guardian's Aid turn 1. They don't have any creatures to go along with it, which is good for us. We did not draw a land, which is unfortunate. But we're going to get this Grist online, which is also going to fuel our Court of Callings. We milled the land, which is really good. And then next turn, we'll plus Grist. We'll have Court of Calling up for Liberator, and we can go from there. Drum. Do they not have a creature? Another drum. They don't have a creature. This is an interesting hand they kept here. So I think our hand is pretty strong. Okay, so next turn, we could also chord for a Wall of Roots, which is relevant as well because it allows us to cast our Yawgmoth. So depending on what they do here, if they don't have a creature, I don't know what they're doing. Okay, they just put Luris into their hand. We're going to get the Liberator. We're just going to start mowing down their board. They might even scoop here. I'm not sure why they kept this hand. Alright, there's another chord. Alright, so we're going to chord 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to get Yawgmoth here. And we also have Endurance up to get rid of their graveyard, so we can get rid of their Sigarda's aid. Yeah, so they just scooped. So even if they cast Lurrus there, they weren't going to be able to get the Sigarda's aid back. So I think that was just a bad keep on my opponent's part. I mean, that was turn 4 for us. You can see that board state was, they weren't beating that one. All right, so we're not changing anything. We're going to submit our deck. I actually think that opener was a little weak against what they're doing, but I kept it because we were on the play. On the draw, I think we would have shipped that one. All right, we're back at it. Game 3. We got disconnected for a moment, but we're loading back up. We should be on the draw this game, as I can see my hand. And this hand looks strong, so we are going to keep it. Fortunately, the pictures on my cards haven't loaded yet, but we have 2 sideboard cards. We have a turn 2 Grist, so I think this gives us what we want, and they're mulliganing down to 6, so I think we're in pretty good shape. I want to jinx us, but at a glance, this looks pretty good. I'm happy with how this is panning out up to this point. Just not very far. Alright, so they keep a 6-card hand, and like I said, they're on the play. I mean, they can just win turn 2 regardless, so we're hoping their hand is not like that, but Marsh flat. Okay, so similar start to last game for them. No 0 drops, which is good for us. Yeah, I think our opponent is double queuing. Alright, we got some artwork here on our cards. Alright, we're back. Blood Artist, not a great draw. We're going to play out our tomb, we'll shock, and cast our Hierarch, and pass. So it will be unfortunate if we have to crime punishment for 1, because our Hierarch will bite the dust, but as of right now, I think our play next turn, depending on what they do is probably play the Liberator out and just leave it up if we need to. Let's see what they do. Okay. Pithing Needle on Yawgmoth, I'm guessing. Alright, so right now with the crime punishment, we have 2 hits. So we're getting at least a 2 for 2 off of it. They're thinking. It's interesting they named Frenzy Trapbreaker, which is the backside of Liberator. I'm not sure how that works. Are they considered 2 separate cards where I can't activate it? That's not clear to me. So I'm debating how I should play this. So if Liberator still works, you know, I'm gonna play it as if they named Liberator, just because I'm not sure how this interaction works out, and I think that's what they meant to do. So I'm gonna play it as if that's the case. So with that being said, I'm going to crime punishment for 1, and then I'm going to play out the Liberator next turn. So we're going to lose our Hierarch. I think if Liberator works still, the right play would be to play out the Liberator. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they meant to cast their Pithing Needle on Liberator and not Trap Breaker. So we're going to do this. No. Well, I'll say that next turn, so I don't give them any information about what's in our hand here. Alright, they're playing a land. That's fine. That really doesn't matter. Alright, so they got a whole lot of nothing. Whole lot of nothing. Fetch. Liberator, and we're going to play out a Hierarch, and next turn we should be able to cast most of what's in our hand here. As long as they don't have Hammer and another Sigarda's Aid, I think we're okay. And even if they do, I think we have an answer. We'll take a hit, but we should be fine at that point. Alright, Lurrus is in their hand. So down goes the Ornithopter. Alright. So I kind of want to play out the Blood Artist because I'll get a point off of the Ornithopter, but I am not going to do that because I won't be able to cast Grist out. So we're going to swing for 3. Actually, 4. Taking the hit. So they're going to cast 2 spells on their turn, so I'm not actually going to wait with respect to the... I'm just going to cast 2 spells out here. Maybe that was wrong, because now they can Pithing Needle. If they have another land, they can Pithing Needle my Grist, which I guess doesn't matter. It's a tricky situation. What's likely going to happen is they're just getting the Ornithopter back, though. Lurrus? If they don't have a land, I think they're in trouble. There's Lurrus. Ornithopter. So it looks like they don't have a land. Alright, I think they're in a little bit of trouble here. We'll block that, that's fine. I could have double blocked, but I'm not really in the market to do that. Alright, so we're going to play Wall of Roots, Blood Artist. We're going to -2 Grist, sack our Yawgmoth, trigger the Blood Artist, target the Lurrus, trigger Undying, always yield, drain 2, gain 2, and now we're going to attack with the Liberator for 3. And I'm going to leave the Liberator up just in case we need to kill something with it. So I'm not casting out the bird here. So I guess I could have cast the bird because I had the Wall of Roots. So that was a mistake. I should have done that. So little minor detail, missed a point there. All right, so that's a relevant card. Reality Chip. All right, so I guess the question is, do I get rid of the Sigarda's Aid now? I think I'm going to do that. It's not even 0-4 blocker. That card can generate a pretty significant amount of card advantage for them. Alright, that was actually a really good draw. So we're going to get rid of the chip. I wonder if we can just kill them here. So -2 Grist, kill 2 creatures, drain 2, gain 2. Play another Grist, kill another 2 creatures, put them down to 3. And then they have to block. I think we can just kill them. Pretty close to killing them. Alright, so they're down to 2 life. It's an interesting line of play there. Blood Artist putting in some work. Esper Sentinel. So that's a chump blocker. I think they're running out of gas here. Alright, so my grist is done. Fine. Drawing something like a Yawgmoth is just going to be a good game if we find that. Geist, I think that's game. Yes, that's definitely game. Yeah, so we got there. So some interesting lines of play. We didn't even have a Yawgmoth that game, but we still got there. We have completed the challenge, gotten the 5-0. This is my technically second 5-0 in 4 leagues, but it should be 3 in 4 because I got disconnected in one of them and timed out. But you know, as I always say, this deck is super powerful. If you have some proficiency with it, take advantage of the sideboard guide, take advantage of the tips that I provide in the guide, get some practice reps in. The deck is just stupid good. So hope you've enjoyed this video. Hammertime for the 3rd time. Different variation though. And I hope that if I have provided some value to you, if you've enjoyed this video, you hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment below, let me know what you liked or didn't like about the video, give me some feedback. I'm new at this, so I am open to it. Until next time, my friends, I will see you then.